For a long time, I thought holding a family together meant being the one who never let go, even when it meant being dragged underwater. My name's Ethan. I live in a modest town, work in finance, and used to believe in that tired phrase people throw around, family is everything. God, I clung to that. I built my whole damn identity around it. But if you asked me now, I'd tell you family can be a wrecking ball, especially when you're the only one standing still. It wasn't always like this, or maybe it was, and I just refused to see it. For years, I was the sole provider. My wife, Vanessa, hadn't worked in over 4 years. Not because she couldn't, but because she didn't feel like it. "You've got us covered," she'd say while scrolling through luxury bag sites or booking spa appointments I didn't even know about until the credit card bill came in. My parents, they'd stopped paying any bills of their own 6 years ago. Utility bills, mortgage, even their streaming services, because apparently missing the latest season of their crime drama was a human rights violation. Who swooped in every month? Me. And then there was Logan, my younger brother, the golden child. He decided, late in life, that he was destined to be a lawyer. So he went back to school, and guess who sponsored that brilliant dream? Yep, I paid his tuition, his rent, his books, his food, his internet. Hell, I probably paid for his beer runs too. At first, I convinced myself it was love. That's what love does, it sacrifices. But love doesn't look like constant overdraft warnings. Love doesn't feel like waking up at 3 a.m. with your heart racing and your chest clenching like you're dying. Love doesn't watch you wither while it lives lavishly off your spine. There was never a thank you, not once. Just expectations, demands, guilt. "You're doing fine, Ethan. You make good money. We need you. Who else is gonna help us? Don't be selfish. You're the stable one." I didn't realize it at the time, but they weren't asking for help, they were demanding servitude. It all started to break last year when I began having panic attacks. Real ones. The kind that make you sit on the bathroom floor gasping like a fish and wondering if dying would feel any worse. That's when I went to therapy, and that's when the first crack split through the dam. My therapist, cool, blunt, not one for sugarcoating, looked at me one day and said, "Why do you think their happiness is your responsibility?" I had no answer, only silence. She leaned forward and asked, "Ethan, what happens if you stop?" I didn't know, but I was about to find out. It didn't happen all at once. You don't break chains like these with one snip. It takes a dozen cuts. The first cut, telling Vanessa. She needed to get a job. We were in the kitchen. She was lounging in silk pajamas. I didn't recognize, probably a new purchase, and sipping a $12 imported matcha. I was exhausted after pulling an 11-hour shift. "You need to contribute, Vanessa," the first told her, voice calm, too calm. She didn't even blink. "Why? We're doing fine, aren't we?" That laugh, God, that laugh, like she'd just heard a toddler suggest paying rent. That was the moment I realized something was broken in us. Maybe it had been for a long time. Next came the phone call to my parents. "Mom, Dad, I can't cover your bills anymore. I'm sorry." Silence. Then the trembling voice of my mother. "You're abandoning us?" My father muttered, "Ungrateful," and hung up. But the real explosion, the one that would leave permanent scorch marks on whatever was left of our family dynamic, happened at Logan's 20th birthday dinner. It was at this overpriced steakhouse he insisted on. I hadn't wanted to go. Every instinct told me to stay home. But I showed up for the sake of control, for the sake of narrative. I didn't want them spinning some story about how I was too selfish to celebrate my own brother's birthday. When I walked in, I knew something was off. The air was too sweet, too rehearsed. The smiles were forced, wide enough to split skin. My parents acted like nothing had happened. Vanessa gave me this smug little nod from across the room like she'd already won something. Logan barely looked up from his phone. The night oozed manipulation. Whispers floated around me like gnats. Logan deserves to be supported. Family sticks together, you know? Some people forget their roots when they get money. I chewed my steak with my jaw clenched. I could taste the salt, and not just from the meat. Then Logan stood to speak. "I just want to thank everyone for being here," he said. "And of course, my amazing sister-in-law Vanessa, and my incredible parents who've always believed in me. And Ethan, my brother, who was always there for me. I don't know what changed, but I hope he finds his way back to the guy we used to love." Silence. All eyes turned to me. I could feel the sting behind my eyes. But I didn't cry. I stood up, cleared my throat, and reached into my satchel. Pulled out 2 folders. "Actually, Logan, I've got a few words too. Vanessa's face went pale. She knew. Somewhere in her soul, she knew what was coming. I handed her one folder. These are divorce papers, Vanessa. I'll be filing first thing Monday. You'll need to find someone else to fund your obsession with luxury candles and soul retreats. Gasps. My mom dropped her wine glass. I turned to Logan. And this. I held the second folder up. This is a breakdown of every dollar I've ever spent on you. Tuition, rent, food, utilities. Consider it your final birthday gift, because I'm done. My father opened his mouth. I raised a hand. No, you've all had your say. For 6 years I've paid your bills, sacrificed my life, and lost sleep over your comfort. It ends now. Sell your car, get a job, figure it out. I walked out of that restaurant like it was on fire behind me because, in a way, it was. That night, I didn't go home. I checked into a quiet Airbnb near the marina, the sound of waves replacing the weight of guilt I'd carried for years. But I knew this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. You'd think after torching the dinner party with my little truth bomb, they'd get the hint. You'd think wrong. The silence after that night was deafening for about a week. No texts, no calls, not a single guilt trip meme from my mother. I let myself believe it was over, that maybe, just maybe, they were too stunned to respond. But parasites don't just roll over and die when you stop feeding them. They squirm, they regroup, and then they retaliate. It started slow, a voicemail from Vanessa. Ethan, can we talk? I think you're overreacting. This doesn't have to be ugly. I didn't respond. Then my mom called. I watched her number flash on my phone 26 times over 2 days. Left unread, unheard. Logan texted me something that just said, "Real mature, bro." That one made me laugh out loud. By noon the next day, my phone had logged over 40 missed calls. The messages went from passive-aggressive to outright unhinged. Guilt, rage, accusation. One from Vanessa read, "You're ruining this family." Another from my father, "You think money makes you better than us? It makes you cold, soulless." Right. Because the last 6 years of paying everyone's bills was a warm, soulful act of tyranny. Then came the twist. Around 3 p.m. that Thursday, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. Against my better judgment, I picked up. "Ethan, it's Marcus." I blinked. Marcus. My childhood best friend. The only person who'd stayed in my corner, even when everything else tilted sideways. He used to date Logan's ex-roommate, so he'd heard the gossip through the grapevine before I could even breathe it. "I heard something," he said, "and you need to be careful." I sat up straighter. "They're planning something. Vanessa, your parents, Logan, an intervention apparently. They're saying you've had some kind of breakdown, that you're unwell." I blinked. "Unwell? They're trying to paint you as unstable, emotionally erratic. There's talk of showing up at your work, making a scene." I let out a sharp breath. Wow, that didn't take long. They're desperate, man. They've lost their meal ticket, and they're spiraling. I thanked Marcus, hung up, sat on the edge of the bed for a while, phone heavy in my hand. Then, as if the universe was playing some twisted joke, I got an email. It was from a familiar domain, glidetechcorp.com, my former employer, or more specifically Vanessa's former employer. Attached to the email was a scanned resignation letter. I frowned. Then I read the details. Reason for resignation: misuse of company funds, unauthorized personal spending totaling over $15,000. My blood ran cold. Vanessa had told me she was laid off due to restructuring. Downsizing, she said. Nothing personal. I covered for her, paid her way, funded her lifestyle. And all this time, she'd been booted for theft. I forwarded the email to her without a single word. She replied in under 5 minutes. "What the hell, Ethan? Where did you get this? Does it matter?" I replied. "You lied to me for years." Her next response was a frantic chain of excuses. HR had it out for her. The charges were exaggerated. She never meant to hide it. I didn't reply. The cracks in their carefully constructed stories were spreading. But it wasn't over. 2 days later, I was packing boxes when I heard a knock. I opened the door, and there stood my father, alone. His expression? Tight, like he'd rehearsed this visit in the mirror and still didn't like how it felt. "Can I come in?" I said nothing, just stepped aside. He walked in and stood in the middle of the room, like he didn't recognize it anymore. After a long silence, he finally said, "You're breaking your mother's heart." I stayed quiet. I knew the trap, empathy bait. "But," he continued, voice dropping honestly, "I don't blame you. That got my attention. She's been spending your money like it's Monopoly cash. You should see her credit card bills. Cruises, spa days, subscriptions to every luxury service you can imagine. I raised an eyebrow. And Logan, he added with a sigh, he's been pocketing half of what you sent him. Says it's for textbooks. But he's been flying out to Vegas with his friends. One trip cost more than his semester fees. I stared at my father. Part of me wanted to scream, why didn't you stop them? But the other part, quiet and bitter, already knew the answer. He looked at me and said, I don't agree with how you handled it, but I understand. I just wish you would have come to me first. Would you have listened? I asked. He didn't answer. He left not long after, and I returned to packing. My mind was spinning, but there was a strange calm under the chaos. Like the eye of a storm I had finally walked into willingly. The final straw? It came a week later, on a rainy Tuesday. I was standing in line at the courthouse, ready to officially file the divorce papers. A man in a suit approached me, briefcase in hand. Mr. Ethan, he asked. I nodded. He handed me a thick envelope. You've been served. The words hit like a slap. I opened the envelope. Read the first page, then read it again. Vanessa was suing me for spousal support. Apparently, since she hadn't worked in years by choice, she felt entitled to part of my income after the divorce. I didn't panic. I didn't flinch. I smiled. Because this was the part where they thought I'd fold. But they had no idea who I was when I wasn't carrying them anymore. You don't walk into a lion's den and expect the lions to apologize. Vanessa suing me for spousal support was her final card, or so she thought. In her head, she was still the victim, the woman abandoned by her cold, controlling husband. What she didn't realize was that I hadn't just walked away. I'd walked into war mode, and I wasn't coming alone. That week, I called Charlotte. If you ever need a divorce lawyer who knows where all the bodies are buried before the opposing party even starts digging, call Charlotte Moreno. We met in her downtown office. She had sharp eyes, a sharper bob cut, and a tone that made me feel both terrified and protected at the same time. I've seen worse, she said, flipping through the lawsuit Vanessa had filed. But rarely this bold from someone with a paper trail as messy as hers. Oh, she's got a trail all right, I said, pulling out a flash drive. I just need help lighting it up. In 1 week, Charlotte's team moved faster than I'd ever seen. They dug into everything: joint bank statements, credit card purchases, old messages Vanessa had left on social media, bragging about not working because she had a human ATM. I even gave them access to the email from her previous employer detailing her misconduct. But the real gold, that came from something I hadn't even thought to check. Ethan, Charlotte said, calling me late one evening. Your soon-to-be ex has a secret account. I blinked. Come again? She's been funneling your money into a separate bank account under her maiden name for over 2 years. And guess where that money's going? I didn't respond. I already knew. She's been supporting another guy. We've got proof. Flights, hotel stays, gift purchases. She even Venmo'd him with the caption, "Thanks for last night." Charlotte paused, then added, I hope you're not still emotionally attached. I laughed. Emotionally? No. Strategically? Let's bury her. We filed a countersuit the next morning. Misuse of marital funds, concealed financial activity, and fraud. Charlotte included everything down to the bathrobes she'd ordered for their hotel getaways. Then I did something bold. I invited my entire family out for one final dinner: my parents, Logan, and yes, even Vanessa. No ambush. No yelling, just facts. We met at a rooftop lounge. I wore a black suit, no tie, calm, calculated. They showed up looking tense, wary. My mom gave me that wounded mother's stare. Logan rolled his eyes before even sitting down. Vanessa wore a red classic power move. She still thought she had the upper hand. I waited until the drinks arrived, then pulled out a small folder and slid it across the table to Logan. That's a detailed list of every payment I made on your behalf over the last 3 years. Tuition, rent, utilities, Uber rides, even that fake GoFundMe you set up for textbooks and spent in Vegas. If you want to know how I know, receipts. Logan's jaw clenched. I turned to my parents. Did you know your streaming service subscriptions alone cost me over $4,000 over the past 6 years? And that mom spent nearly $10,000 in emergency massages and designer handbags. My mother gasped. Don't worry, I added. I'm not asking for it back. I'm just done pretending I owe you any more of my life. Then I turned to Vanessa. You're suing me for support. You lied about your job. You stole from me. You hit another man. And now, you want a piece of what I've built? I leaned in, voice low. Charlotte filed a countersuit this morning. Everything's documented. And that secret account? The court's already frozen it. Vanessa's face dropped. For the first time in years, she looked genuinely afraid. I'm moving to Florida in 3 days, I said, standing. New city, new job, new life. This was just closure. I left them there, blinking in the flicker of candlelight and consequence. But the universe wasn't done dealing cards. 2 days before my move, I got an email from Marcus. The subject line was simple. You need to see this. Attached was a screenshot of a group chat. Participants, Vanessa, my parents, Logan, and 2 cousins. The messages, we can't let him just walk away. I'll show up at his office if I have to. He always caves under pressure. If we can make his new job miserable, he'll come crawling back. Vanessa even suggested leaking false mental health accusations to my HR department. They weren't just mad, they were plotting to sabotage me, to ruin the one thing I had left my future. But then something unexpected happened. That afternoon, someone knocked on my door. It was Sophia. We'd met once briefly through Marcus. She was a trauma physician, level-headed, sharp, kind in that quiet way that cuts through chaos. I hadn't expected to see her. I know this is random, she said, but I saw everything. I used to be friends with Logan. I'm not anymore. She handed me her phone. More screenshots, more messages. Plans to track me after I moved. False claims they were going to make. Even a drafted post they planned to upload on Facebook, claiming I'd stolen money from the family. I'm sorry I didn't say something sooner, she said. I looked at her stunned. Thank you, I said. You have no idea how much this means. With Sophia's help, Charlotte filed a cease and desist letter within 24 hours. Any further attempts at harassment, slander, or intimidation would result in a lawsuit. A very public one. 2 days later, I loaded the last box into my car, slammed the trunk shut, and took one last look at the life I was leaving behind. Then my phone buzzed. A post from Vanessa. Some people throw their family away for money. Sad how selfish this world has become. I smiled. Then I posted screenshots of her affair, the hidden account, the financial fraud, and my formal countersuit. Caption: some people lie, cheat, and steal, then call it love. Here's the truth. It went viral in under 6 hours. By the end of the day, Vanessa had deactivated all her socials. Logan's account was locked. My parents, eerily silent. The story they tried to spin was dead, and the only narrative left was the one I had finally taken back. 6 months. That's how long it's been since I left. Some days, it feels like a lifetime ago. Other times, I wake up expecting to see Vanessa's passive-aggressive post. It's on the bathroom mirror, or hear Logan whining about how expensive textbooks are again. But then I open the windows of my new place, breathe in the saltwater air, and remember, that version of me is gone. I live in a quiet beach town in Florida now. The rent's higher, the pace is slower, but the peace, priceless. I landed a senior finance position at a regional firm that doesn't treat burnout like a badge of honor. My coworkers respect boundaries. My phone doesn't buzz at 3 a.m. with financial emergencies from family members who haven't worked in years. For the first time in forever, I'm not responsible for anyone but myself. Well, almost just myself. Sophia and I started seeing each other regularly after I moved. At first, I kept her at a distance. Trust didn't come easily after being emotionally mugged for 6 years. But she never pushed, never asked for more than I could give, just showed up consistently with kindness and curiosity. The kind that made me feel human again. She has her own career, her own apartment, her own everything, and still, she reaches for me not because she needs me, but because she wants to. That distinction, it took me months to believe was even possible. The first time she picked up the dinner check, I nearly teared up. "Ethan," she said, gently nudging my hand away from the bill. "Not everything has to be a transaction." That sentence rewired something in me. Meanwhile, back in my old life, well, let's just say karma didn't skip a beat. Vanessa dropped her lawsuit a week after the screenshots hit social media. Charlotte sent me the formal notice with a little smiley face drawn on the sticky note. She knows she's toast. It's over. We finalized the divorce shortly after. I owed her nothing. The judge even denied her request for alimony on the grounds of financial misconduct. Apparently, hiding money while suing your spouse for more money doesn't go over well in court. Last I heard, she was crashing on a friend's couch, unemployed, and according to Facebook, now focusing on her healing journey. Good luck with that, Vanessa. Logan? He dropped out of school after I cut funding. Turns out studying law gets a lot harder when you have to pay your own bills. He tried launching a Twitch stream. It didn't go far. My parents had to sell their second car, then their boat, then their luxury coffee machine, which, for the record, I also paid for once upon a time. Do I feel guilty? Not even a little. They had every chance to do better, every opportunity to stand up, grow up, or at the very least say, thank you. But they never did. They expected me to carry their weight until I collapsed under it. I didn't collapse. I just walked away. And you know what? That walk away moment was the bravest thing I've ever done. I still hear from them occasionally. Emails, a few missed calls. I don't answer. I told them once, clearly, don't contact me again unless it's to apologize with sincerity and without excuses. So far, that message has been met with silence, and that's okay. Sometimes the only way to heal is to let the wound scar, to leave it uncovered, unbothered, and let time do what it does best, move forward. The other day, I got coffee with Sophia on our way to the farmer's market. She asked me if I ever think about going back, visiting, reconnecting. I looked at her for a long second, then shook my head. I don't think they miss me, I said. I think they miss what I gave them. She nodded, then squeezed my hand. We walked along the boardwalk, sun overhead, music drifting from a nearby street performer. And for the first time in years, I wasn't looking over my shoulder. I wasn't waiting for the next shoe to drop. I wasn't trying to be someone's savior. I was just a man, free. Epilogue. If you're still reading this, if you're reading this and you're where I was suffocating under the weight of everyone else's expectations, guilt, tripped into thinking boundaries, make you selfish, listen to me. You are not selfish for choosing yourself. You are not a villain for ending cycles of emotional debt. You are allowed to say no, to walk away, to cut the cord even if it's wrapped in blood ties. And when you do, you'll be shocked at how light you feel. Freedom doesn't make noise, but you'll feel it. In your breath, in your sleep, in the mirror. And someday, you'll look back at the people who drained you dry and realize they weren't your home. You were theirs. They just never paid rent. But now, the lease is up. Story 2. I never thought I'd be that guy, the one who walks into a nightmare, wearing a smile and holding takeout. Yet here I am, 33 years old, watching my life unravel like a pulled thread. My name's Mason, and until yesterday, I was engaged to Leah. We'd been together for 3 years, engaged for 6 months. She's 30 now, smart, funny, gorgeous, and apparently excellent at lying through her teeth. And then there's Jack, 32, my best friend since high school, my go-to for everything from barbecues to breakups. He was supposed to be my best man, was being the operative word here. Looking back, the signs were there. They always are, right? You just never want to connect the dots when they lead to a picture that guts you. Leah had started going to the gym more around 4 months ago. Jack offered to train her. He owns the place and has the abs to prove it. I didn't think twice. I trusted him. That was mistake number 1. Then came the late nights. Client meeting ran long. Traffic was insane. The kind of excuses that sound fine the first few times, but when they pile up, they start to stink. Her phone was always face down. She'd smile at a notification, then lock it the second I walked by. When I brought it up, I became the problem. Insecure, controlling, the classic defense playbook. Yesterday, I had a site visit scheduled until 6. It wrapped early, so I decided to surprise her. Picked up her favorite tie from that little place on River Street. Pulled into the driveway, and there it was, Jack's truck, right in front of our house. On a Wednesday afternoon, he was supposed to be coaching a spin class until 7. I stood there, holding that dumb brown paper bag, staring at his license plate. Like if I squinted hard enough, maybe it'd say someone else's name. No such luck. I let myself in, quiet. The house felt different, like the air itself knew something I didn't. And then I heard them. Upstairs, her laugh, his voice, rhythmic creaks from our bed. I wish I could tell you I stormed in, kicked the door down, screamed like a madman, but I didn't. My heart was beating so loud I could barely hear my footsteps as I climbed the stairs. I opened the door. There they were, tangled. In the bed Leah and I picked out together. The one we used to talk about raising kids in. She saw me first. Did she panic? Apologize? No, she smirked. What, you gonna cry or something? She said, like she was mocking a child who dropped their ice cream cone. Jack leapt off the bed like his skin was on fire. Mace bro, I can explain. Don't call me that, I said. Calm, too calm. Leah didn't bother covering her mouth. Just her body, wrapped the sheet around herself like she was the victim here. Say something, she snapped. Come on, have your little meltdown. Instead, I pulled out my phone, took a few photos. They scrambled. Too late. I looked up straight into Leah's eyes and said, "Thanks. You just made this real easy." Then I turned and walked out. She screamed after me, "That's it. You coward." I stopped at the top of the stairs. "No," I said. "I'm just getting started." I spent the night in a cheap motel with bad lighting and stale air. Didn't sleep, didn't eat, just stared at the ceiling, replaying every moment of the last 3 years. When I woke up this morning, my phone was having a meltdown of its own. 42 missed calls from Leah, 20 from Jack, texts, voicemails, apologies, pleas, threats. Leah's was my favorite. "If you ruin my life over this, I swear, Mason, too late." What they didn't know was that I'd suspected something for weeks. Leah forgot our shared iPad was still synced to her iMessages. I had receipts, DSS screenshots, conversations, photos, and yes, even proof she'd been using my credit card to pay Jack for private training sessions. This morning, I shut everything down. I called the bank, removed her from every shared account, transferred my half to a private one, cut off the credit cards, left her ring on the kitchen counter with a sticky note, "Hope he's worth it." I called both our families, told them the wedding was off, told them why. Then I sent everything I had to Jack's wife, Erin. I figured she deserved the truth too. She didn't reply, but I saw she read the messages. That was enough. Since then, the texts haven't stopped. Leah's swinging between begging me to come home and calling me names. Jack's in damage control mode. It's almost impressive how fast people change tones when their secrets aren't secret anymore. I'm not interested in hearing excuses. I'm not here for closure. I'm not out for blood. I'm out for truth and maybe, just maybe, a little poetic justice. I thought the worst part would be catching them in the act. Turns out, the aftermath? Way messier. The morning after I found Leah and Jack together, I sat on the edge of a motel bed, scrolling through message after message, like I was watching a slow-motion train wreck. 1 second, Leah's begging me to talk, "Please, Mace. It was a mistake." Next second, "You're really gonna destroy our lives over one stupid thing?" Yeah, that line stuck with me. One stupid thing. Like it was some misplaced sock or an overdue bill. Jack wasn't any better. His first text was, "Bro, I never meant for this to happen." Man, I hate how people always say that after the damage is done. Like the fire doesn't count if you didn't mean to light the match. By noon, Leah was on my doorstep, dressed in one of those soft sweaters she always wore when she wanted to look innocent. Eyes puffy, mascara smudged, voice shaking just enough to sound human again. "Mason, we need to talk," she whispered, like saying it loud would make it more real. I didn't say a word, just let her in, sat down, and watched her pace like a trapped animal. "I messed up, okay? I know that," she said. "But 3 years, Mace. You're gonna throw it all away for one mistake?" I stared at her for a second, then said, "You know what's wild? I was coming home early to surprise you. Had a dinner reservation. Your favorite spot. I even brought Thai food." Her face dropped. She tried to hold it together, but I saw the guilt flicker across her features like a dying light bulb. Then came the defensiveness. "I didn't mean for it to go that far," she muttered. "That far?" I laughed. "You were in our bed, Leah." That's when she switched tactics, said I'd violated her privacy by looking through her messages. That's the part that got me, the lack of accountability. Like I was the problem for finding the truth. "You left your iMessages synced to the iPad, Leah. You didn't even bother to log out. That's not me snooping. That's you being sloppy. Cue waterworks. Real ones this time." She dropped to the couch, sobbing into her hands, saying she didn't know what she wanted, that she'd been confused, that maybe we moved too fast. I almost felt bad. Almost. And right when the pity was creeping in, the doorbell rang. Guess who? Jack. The man had the audacity to show up like this was some sitcom reunion. Stood on my porch like he was bringing a six-pack to smooth things over. "Mason, man, can we just talk?" he said, hands in his pockets, like we were back in high school, trying to bluff our way through a bad grade. "There's nothing to talk about," I said, stepping outside and closing the door behind me. "You're really gonna let 15 years of friendship go like this?" he asked. 15 years. "And you couldn't keep your hands off my fiancé." He flinched at that. "Good. You think saying sorry makes this all go away?" I continued. "You broke something, Jack. And it's not just my relationship. It's everything we built. You burned it all down for what? A few late-night gym sessions and dirty texts?" He tried to puff up, take a step toward me. "You want to hit me?" he asked. "Go ahead. I deserve it." I looked him dead in the eye. I don't need to hit you. You're already falling apart. And I meant it. Because while they were busy cheating, I was collecting. Quietly, methodically, like sweeping up shattered glass before someone steps on it. Screenshots of every message. Receipts from Leah's gym payments charged to my card. Times and dates logged. I had enough to light their world on fire, but I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to lash out. I was going to let the truth do the talking. I'd already sent everything to Aaron Jack's wife. Every screenshot, every schedule, every snarky little joke they made at our expense. She didn't reply right away, but I saw the typing dots pop up, disappear, pop up again. When she finally sent her reply, it was simple. Thank you. That night, Leah tried to call again, said she missed me, that she couldn't sleep, that I was the only person who truly knew her. I didn't respond. She started reaching out to our mutual friends, spinning the story like I was overreacting, like I was some cold-hearted jerk for walking away. But people talk, and once the screenshots started circulating, once folks saw the full picture, it all started shifting. Friends who once told me to give her a second chance started texting apologies. The wedding venue called to confirm our final deposit. I told them to cancel. The woman on the other end paused, then said softly, "Good call. Happens more than you'd think." By the end of the week, Leah was locked out of our joint accounts. I removed her from every shared card, changed every password, rerouted all mail. I wasn't just leaving the relationship. I was burning the trail behind me. But the real moment, the one that sticks with me, was meeting up with Erin. We decided to grab coffee, compare timelines, just talk. She showed up in jeans and a hoodie, no makeup, hair pulled back in that no-nonsense way that tells you someone's done crying. She laid out her phone on the table and opened her photo gallery. I did the same. We traded screenshots like war stories. Her hands trembled a little when she hit the messages from January. They'd been at it for longer than either of us thought. Erin didn't yell, didn't curse. She just nodded and said, "Okay, I know what I need to do." And what she did? Let's just say, Poetic doesn't even begin to cover it. But I'll get to that. For now, all you need to know is this. Leah and Jack thought they were untouchable. They thought I'd collapse, cry, maybe beg them to explain. Instead, I'm rebuilding, stronger, wiser, cleaner. They lit the match, but I own the fire. I wasn't planning to push this any further, but then they made it personal. Jack lost most of his clients after Erin showed up at the gym and read their messages out loud. Not in private, not in a whisper. She did it right there on the weight floor, mid-session, while he was coaching 2 people. She stood in front of him, phone in hand, and let it all spill. "Can't wait to sneak into your bed again. When Mason's working late," she read, voice steady. "Maybe next time let's use the kitchen counter." Silence. Then gasps. Then someone actually clapped. The gym owner fired him the next day. No drama. Just told him his presence was no longer a good fit for the brand. That was putting it lightly. Leah, meanwhile, was still trying to spin her sob story online. Posted some long caption about love being complicated and healing from past trauma. Said sometimes people make mistakes, and society shouldn't judge what it doesn't understand. So I responded, "Remember our engagement party? The one where she gave that emotional speech about me being her safe space after a toxic relationship? How I taught her to trust again? Yeah." I stitched that clip next to screenshots of her and Jack arranging hookups around my work schedule, side by side. Her crying on stage, and then her laughing with Jack about how he's probably still stuck in traffic. It wasn't rage I felt when I hit post. It was peace, a quiet kind of justice. The video blew up in our town's Facebook groups. People commented with shock, disbelief, some with popcorn emojis. A few even messaged me directly to say they'd gone through something similar. Leah called me crying, real crying this time. "Mason, please take it down. My parents saw it. My sister won't speak to me. You mocked me in our bed," I said. "Now the truth is mocking you." Click. I didn't hear from her for 3 days after that. Jack tried once. Left a voicemail. "Man, we were friends for so long. Doesn't that mean anything?" "No, not anymore." Then came the final domino. Leah had been chasing this big real estate deal for months, her golden ticket. A wealthy couple was interested in buying a luxury home through her. Commission would have set her up for the year. Too bad the couple happened to be friends with my cousin Edgar. I didn't even have to stretch the truth. Just told them what happened, showed them the screenshots, told them, "You might want someone a bit more professional." They pulled out of the deal that afternoon. Her broker called her in the next day. Word is she's on probation now. pending internal review. Jack, still sleeping on someone's couch. Aaron's divorce papers were delivered by a mutual friend who said Jack just stared at the envelope like it was radioactive. And me? I'm doing okay. Actually, I'm doing better than okay. Last weekend, I went to a local open mic night with some coworkers. Just wanted to get out, breathe some different air. That's where I met Aspen. She wasn't loud. Didn't try to dominate the room. Just sat at a table with a book, sipping a drink slowly, looking up every now and then like she was memorizing faces. We talked about books, old houses, dogs. She didn't know who I was or what I'd been through. I liked that. We're taking it slow. No expectations, no pressure, just real conversations. She asks questions and actually listens. And when I told her everything about Leah, about Jack, she didn't flinch. Just nodded and said, I think you handled it better than most would have. I've learned something through all this. People always say revenge is messy, that you should let things go, move on. But here's what I think. Revenge doesn't have to be ugly. Sometimes it's just telling the truth at the right time, to the right people. It's letting liars ruin their own lives with a little help from the facts. I never yelled, never broke anything, never stooped to their level. I just walked away with my dignity and handed them the shovel to bury themselves. Last week, I saw Leah and Jack together at a bar, sitting across from each other, not touching, not smiling. They looked tired, worn out, like two people carrying the weight of too many bad choices. She spotted me, got up, walked over. You ruined our lives, she said, quiet but sharp. I smiled. No, you just didn't expect to get caught. Jack followed. Tried to square up, tried to swing. Bad idea. I moved first. Nothing wild, just stepped in and dropped him with one clean shot to the jaw. Years of holding back came out in a single punch. The bartender saw everything, knew the story. He just nodded at me and said, You good? Better now, I said. Filed a police report, just in case. Jack's pride was bruised more than anything else. Leah didn't even try to defend him, just helped him up and walked out without looking back. 2 months ago, I thought I lost everything. Now, I've got peace, a clear mind, a fresh start. Funny how life works. Sometimes you think you're breaking when really, you're just being reshaped. To anyone reading this, who's in that moment, who feels like the ground just dropped out from under them, just breathe. Truth has a funny way of rising, and liars, they always sink